Okay, so guys, I know it's Thursday again, and I'm doing another Hot Takes video not on Wednesday, just like last week. I wanted to come out with a part 2 of Bulls Hot Takes, but I wasn't able to complete it before the end of the day. As you know, some of you know that I am still visiting my family, and I've been trying to prioritize spending time with them. But because we've had so many good hot takes this week, I had to come out with another one, even if it meant finishing it up and editing this one on Thursday. Also, stay tuned as I do have a bit of an announcement on a podcast that I was recently on. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bull Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So before I get into the takes, one of my good friends has recently started his own podcast and had asked me to participate in his latest episode. The podcast is called Fumble Podcast, and he talks about a variety of topics. However, in this episode in particular, we talked about Chicago Bulls, of course. So feel free to check it out if you guys are interested. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Also, this was a video podcast, so I know a lot of you guys have been asking for a face reveal, which I don't really know why some of you are so fixated on that, but be that as it may, if you want a face reveal and to see what I look like, well, you have a chance to see that, which the podcast is available on YouTube, and like I said, I'll leave a link to that in the description. I was going to hold off on doing any kind of face reveal or a name reveal because, to be honest, sometimes it's nice to just be anonymous in this day and age of cyber stalking and bullying, but I figured, why not just own it? What harm can it do? So check it out if you're interested. We can talk about Bulls basketball. In the episode, about 90% of it is Bulls basketball related. It was recorded about 3 weeks ago though, so a bit delayed. But anyway, just wanted to quickly mention that. Also, if you caught my hot takes video from yesterday, I also mentioned that Viget is hosting an NBA playoff betting league where they are giving away $5,000 in cash prizes, all for free since the app is free to download, and all of the betting on the app is with free money, but you can win real prizes and cash with it. So feel free to use my referral code BullCentral to download the app and get yourself some free coins to get you on your way to their prizes. But anyway, long-winded intro, let's get us kicked off from our earlier hot takes with our next one, which comes to us from I. In his career, do you ever see a possibility of Anthony Davis ever signing with Chicago, sort of how D Wade did? Well, let me start by saying, I really do like Anthony Davis as a player. He's a superstar, and I think, like most Bulls fans, we were all holding a sliver of hope that he would sign with the Bulls when becoming a free agent. But then, of course, he signed a 5-year max extension with the Lakers, which means he will be under contract with the Lakers until he is 31 years old, unless, of course, the Bulls were able to trade for him, which, let's be honest, the Lakers aren't going to give up AD for just anything, unless it's a significant haul, which the Bulls don't have the trade capital to make that kind of move. So, with Anthony Davis not becoming a free agent for another 5 years, well, I guess 4 years now, but at that time anyway, given his age, his already injury history, I honestly don't think it would even make sense for the Bulls to bring him in at the back end of his career, unless of course he's still producing at a very high level. Obviously, the last thing we want is for the Bulls to pull another Dwayne Wade situation and bringing in a former superstar who is past their prime, pay them a hefty salary just to sell some tickets because he's a hometown Chicago kid when it doesn't translate into winning. And that's not necessarily a knock on D Wade because he actually played decently well in his season with Chicago. Not great, and the Bulls obviously weren't that successful when he was there. He didn't really fit nicely with Jimmy Butler and Rondo since none of those guys are really great outside shooters, which is what Hoiberg's system was predicated on. But he still averaged 18.3 points per game. That's not trash by any means, but I think the point is, if we can't get Anthony Davis in his prime, then I don't think he's worth pursuing, unless of course you can get him for a cheap deal in his later years, because Dwayne Wade Garpax offered them a ridiculous $20 million salary, which Wade was not worth that amount. Next up, we have Antonio Strait. Bulls called Boston for Marcus Smart and settled for Tice. No, I don't think that happened at all. And if, it was actually that was the case, then the Bulls really lucked out because Tice, in my opinion, is a more valuable player for what the Bulls need. And obviously is on a much friendlier contract than someone like Marcus Smart. But no, I don't think this was the case at all because despite Marcus Smart being a great defender, and obviously that fits a need for the Bulls, the fact of the matter is once the Bulls traded away Wendell and Daniel Gafford and brought in Vucevic, who isn't a great defender, they needed a rim protector, and Tice fits the bill for that. So Marcus Smart really wouldn't have made a lot of sense for the Bulls given what they had traded for. Otherwise, they would have been completely depleted and void of any interior defense if they had traded for Smart rather than Daniel Tice. Next up, we have the Daily Buckets, Coby White and Thaddeus Young for Lamelo Ball. I mean, obviously, if you're the Bulls, this would be a killer deal, but there's no way the Hornets are going to go for that. Not with the kind of standout rookie season Lamelo Ball has been having at the age of 19. I don't see how that would benefit the Hornets at all, given Thaddeus Young. As much as I like the guy, he's 32, obviously he's going to be 33, doesn't fit the Hornets timeline or roster in general. And as much as I like Coby too, he is a downgrade for the Hornets from Lamelo Ball. And this is coming from someone who was a Lamelo Ball doubter leading up to the draft. I personally thought he was going to be a bust and wouldn't amount to much of anything more than his brother has. Not that his brother is a bad player, but he was a number 2 pick, and a lot of guys who were drafted after him have already gone on to have better careers. But he has exceeded my expectations, and I think likely a lot of people for that matter, including Michael Jordan. So yeah, I mean, I would love this trade for the Bulls, especially when I still believe we need a true playmaking point guard. Despite the fact that Coby has been playing better recently, he's still better playing off the ball as more of a scorer. Now, he could get there, that could change. However, the Bulls need a floor general right now to maximize Lavine and Vucevic's prime. They don't have time to just develop Coby into this player over the course of 2 to 3 seasons. But anyway, that is besides the point. Besides, because the Hornets would never do this, it doesn't make much sense for them at all, either way. Next, this one is from a Soggy Pineapple Gaming. Interesting name. If the Bulls get a top 4 pick, I can guarantee that we win in free agency with a bunch of sign-in trades. I only see 7 players staying on this team: Lavine, White, Vucci, Tice, Young, Williams, and Sato. So I actually like this take because it's a valid point. The Bulls will find out whether they do in fact land in the top 4 in the draft lottery before free agency. And if the Bulls do land in the top 4, which means they get to keep their pick rather than sending it to the Magic, that's pretty huge for their chances when going into the offseason in free agency, especially if the Bulls get very lucky and actually land the number 1 pick, which is expected to be Cade Cunningham, who has received a lot of hype leading up to the draft and a potential generational talent. Oh, and he's also a point guard, something the Bulls need. So you look at this Bulls roster, and I'll touch on the 7 players that you see the Bulls keeping in a little bit. With what they currently have, the way that they've played recently, and also going into a full offseason and a full training camp under their belts, and now you add a top 4 pick, if you're a free agent, that's something that's going to be intriguing, especially in a big market like Chicago. Now, the Bulls' chances of landing a top 4 pick, unlikely. We all know that. The Bulls have won too many games to give themselves a decent chance at getting a top 4 pick, but it's not out of the question. You're talking about a slightly 1 in 4 better chance of landing that, which isn't terrible, but also not good. Now, as for the players who you see staying, I agree with all of them, with the exception of Sato. I don't see the Bulls fully guaranteeing the last year of his deal and will likely waive him to free up some cap space. And I would also say that Troy Brown Jr. is for sure remaining on the roster, given we had just traded for him. He's young, he's a strong, defensively minded player, which the Bulls need. But yes, with a lineup like that and you add a top 4 pick, Bulls are going to look good going into free agency and look very attractive to free agent targets. I know that's a bit biased, I know, but I really think if you look at this Bulls team with the roster that they have going into next season, and if you add a top 4 pick to that with some additional young talent, that's enticing for a free agent. Let's do one more, this one from AAJWaz5. Chicago Bulls trade Lauri and Coby White for Demar DeRozan. So I've been hearing this take a lot recently. Well, not exactly this one specifically, but there have been a lot of rumors that the Spurs are interested in Lauri Markkanen when he becomes a free agent, which I don't know how accurate these rumors are. I mean, with the way that Markkanen has been playing, it's hard to see that any team would have a strong interest in him. I don't doubt that there will be some interest because I do still think Lauri has potential and can be a decent scorer in this league. He just doesn't fit what the Bulls need right now, right? He needs a change of scenery, and to be honest, the Spurs likely could bring out the best in him, but a sign and trade for Lauri and also including Coby White in a trade for DeMar DeRozan, well, first of all, DeMar DeRozan is going to be an unrestricted free agent, so the Bulls can go after him as a free agent if they want to and not need to trade for him. However, they likely would need to move some guys to sign. someone like DeRozan because he's likely going to command a hefty contract. And I like DeRozan's game. I don't think he's appreciated as much as he should be because he's more of a traditional player from, say, the 90s, a great mid-range player, very athletic, great slasher to the hoop, but not the best outside game, not the best defender. But with all of that and the fact that he's 32, will be 33 next season, I don't see how he really fits with the Bulls, given we already have Lavine, we have Coby White, you can even include Patrick Williams in that since sometimes DeRozan plays small forward. So I know a lot of Bulls fans have been talking about DeRozan and how the Bulls should consider going after him. I get that. He's a big name and a well-known and established player. But if he just doesn't fit a need on this roster, other than that, he's a decent playmaker. But you could say the same thing about Lavine. He's a decent playmaker when he wants to be. So, and on top of that, you don't need to trade Markkanen and Coby White to get him. Not two young players when DeRozan is already going to be an unrestricted free agent anyway. So I'll end it there for this week's Hot Takes video. Keep the takes coming as I'll continue my Wednesday Bulls Hot Takes videos throughout the offseason. Feel free to check out the Fumble podcast if you want to see me talk about Bulls basketball with my buddy, and if you want to see a face reveal, as I know some of you have been curious about that. Give a like on the video for my buddy as he's trying to grow his podcast. Also be sure to download the Viget app using my referral code Central. The link to the app is in the description. Stay tuned for a season-ending giveaway, guys, that I'll be doing on the channel. And as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.